Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing extremely well. So today's tutorial is about how to correct and conceal your acne. I know this is a problem a lot of people have these days and you guys have really requested this video, so I thought I would do it for you guys today. This is full coverage and yeah, so let's just jump into it and I hope you enjoy. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is moisturize, and it's really important that you have a fresh, clean and hydrated base before you apply any foundation or concealer or anything like that. And I'm using Charlotte Tilbury's Magic Cream, and you just want to apply this and rub this into your face quite well. Of course, if you're doing this on somebody else, make sure that you have washed and sanitized your hands, because that's really important, because you don't want to be transferring germs or anything onto other people's faces. Next is primer, and the one that I'm using is the Makeup Forever Skin Equaliser in #1 Mattifying Primer. This is my absolute favorite primer to use on people with oily skin and also people with acne, because it mattifies the skin beautifully and helps the makeup last all day long. Now this is my favorite because it kind of creates a shield over the acne, so it's like you're applying, like I said, a shield, and it kind of, I feel like this is the magic towards it. Like this is what makes it cover so well and helps all the product stick to the skin. So next we are moving on to correcting it, and of course if you know your color wheel you would know that green corrects red. So a really important thing is to know your color wheel so you know how to correct like shades and stuff on your skin. So the product that I've used is the BECCA Backlight Targeted Color Corrector in the shade Pistachio. Now this is the first time I've used this. I usually use one by Makeup Forever, but I thought I would give this a go because I love all their other concealers and correctors, and this worked beautifully. It was really creamy, really opaque, and I'm just applying a really thin layer of it. So it looks a little bit thick because it's pretty creamy, but I just applied a really light layer of it. You want to make sure you're applying the corrector to anywhere where you see redness. So any areas that are red or have any pimples, you want to make sure that you apply the green. Now we are taking a damp beauty blender and we are just pushing this into the skin just to blend it out a little bit more and to make the foundation apply a lot more smoothly on top of it. Now, as I mentioned, it is damp. You want to make sure that you're pushing this into the skin and not wiping it, otherwise you'll move the product and then you'd have to reapply it. And that would defeat the purpose of applying it the first time. So you want to make sure that you are pushing it in, not wiping. Moving on to foundation, I'm taking two of my favorites, the first being Makeup Forever Matte Velvet and the second being Illamasqua Liquid Rich. And I really want to emphasize that I did not use a lot of foundation. These two foundations are very full coverage and very creamy, and they really do cover a lot of space. So I literally put a pea-sized drop of each foundation, mixed them together and applied it to the side of her face. So I pretty much used pea-sized drops, so maybe about 4 pea-sized drops for her whole face. So we just applied that with a Real Techniques brush and just really blending that in with a damp beauty blender. And you want to make sure again that you're pushing it into the skin and not wiping it, otherwise you will move the corrector that we previously applied. With this combination of foundations, you want to make sure that you're moving a little bit quicker than usual because they do tend to dry a lot quicker than normal foundations. Also, I just want to put it out there that I do not recommend this combination for every day. This is very full coverage, so I would only recommend this if you are planning on wearing this from very early in the morning to late at night, because it does last, but I wouldn't recommend this for like a quick fix or like an everyday type look. Because applying too much of this or applying it too often in the week is really not good for your skin, and you will block a lot of your pores. So I would only recommend this for more special occasions or if you really want your foundation to last for a very long time. Moving on to her under eyes, I'm going to start by correcting her dark circles, and for this I'm using the BECCA Backlight Targeted Color Corrector in the shade Peach. This is my absolute favorite for correcting dark circles, and I'm just applying this under her eyes in a very light layer with a flat shader brush, and then I'm going to be taking my damp beauty blender and just really blending that out. Next, to conceal those under eyes, I'm taking the BECCA Ultimate Coverage Concealing Cream in the shade Banana, and I'm applying this as well in a very light layer underneath her eyes. It looks quite opaque because it is quite a thick creamy concealer, so you don't want to apply too much of it, and then you just want to blend that out with a damp beauty blender. So I'm also taking that beauty blender and taking that over her eyelids just to conceal the darkness as well and any veins that may be showing. So after concealing, you want to highlight, so I'll be taking my Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer in the shade Light Warm and applying this underneath her eyes, the center of her forehead, and also her chin. Now, before anybody jumps on me for using the actual applicator, I just want to point out that my beautiful model Tiana is my best friend from high school, so we don't really have a problem with sharing our makeup. But if you are doing this on a client, I definitely would recommend you do not do that, and you would apply the concealer to your palette or the back of your hand before applying it. But yeah, moving on, I am just blending this out with a damp beauty blender as well, and as before, you want to push this in and not wipe it, otherwise you'll move all the other product you previously applied. But then I am taking my Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Contour Palette, and I'm taking the shade Cinnamon, and I am using this to contour the sides of her face. So I'm applying this around her forehead, to the hollows of her cheekbones, and also to shape out the bottom of her jawline. And I'm also using a damp beauty blender to blend this out. This is quite a stiff, how would that say concealer, but quite a stiff cream bronzer, so you really want to be pushing that in really well to blend that out really well. And you want to make sure that there are no harsh bronze lines, because there's nothing worse than a unblended contour. So before setting those under eyes, I'm taking my damp beauty blender and just really smoothing out the under eyes, because she may have looked down a little bit and there may have been some creases come up. So I'm just taking my damp beauty blender and just smoothing that out. And then I am taking my Laura Mercier loose translucent powder and just baking those under eyes. So I'm taking that powder on a damp beauty blender as well, and applying that powder underneath her eyes and also below her contour, just above her jawline, to really cut that contour and set those areas of her face. So while her face was baking, I finished off the rest of her makeup. I kept it very simple and soft, and now we are going to dust off that translucent powder, and for this I'm using my Makeup Forever Pro Finish foundation in the shade 117 with this very small round topped Zoeva brush. And you want to make sure that you're really buffing this in circular motions, not so much moving your brush like really hard on the skin. You want to keep it light strokes, and yeah, you want to make sure that you buff off all that translucent powder. And I'm just setting her top lip as well. And then moving on to bronzer, I'm taking my Sephora Sun-Disc bronzer in the shade Tint 2. I'm using this to bronze her face, so the hollows of her cheekbones, the edges of her forehead, and also the edges of her jawline. Moving on to blush, I'm taking this beautiful blush by MAC, and it is their Mineralize blush in the shade Warm Soul, and I am just applying this to the apples of her cheeks, and I find this shade so flattering on so many different people. So for highlighter, I'm taking the BECCA highlighter in the shade Champagne Pop, and you don't want to overdose on highlighter. I find that if you apply too much highlighter, you're really going to emphasize any pimples or like any lumps that are on your cheeks and stuff. So you want to keep this minimal, apply enough to see that glow, but you don't want to overdose on this. And I'm using a Zoeva fan brush for this. And I'm just going to lastly contour the sides of her nose, and I'm using this small MAC oval brush to do so, and my Sephora bronzer that I previously used, and then taking that same BECCA highlighter just onto the bridge of her nose and the tip with that same fan brush. So that, my loves, is it. That is all the steps that I take to cover acne on my clients. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully learned something new today. If you have any more requests for videos like this, please leave them down below. I would absolutely love to do more of these videos. Thank you to my beautiful friend Tiana for being my model today. I really appreciate it. Like if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!